The 7 virtues contradict the 7 deadly sins, and since you guys like the 7 deadly sins of the NBA video so much, we're going to be going into the 7 heavenly virtues. These include chastity, temperament, charity, diligence, patience, kindness, and humility, and we're going to be going over NBA players that represent all of these 7 virtues. And since you like that video so much, make sure to go down below and let me know who you guys think will represent the 7 virtues before we get into it. And with that being said, let's get into it, starting with chastity. Now, chastity is described as purity, the opposite of lust. Instead of a desire for a certain thing, it's more of a restraint from something, and in this case, we're going to be talking about technical fouls. Mike Conley has played almost 1,200 career games without receiving a technical foul. During this 15-year career, he has also received the Sportsmanship Award a record-breaking 4 times. The best part about this story is that Conley did receive a technical foul in 2014 in a game against the Kings, but the league would actually overturn it the next day, taking away what would be his only technical foul. Conley has had an almost spotless record, with his only blemish being a flagrant foul in the 2022 playoffs. Conley has been the definition of purity in his career. Next up, we have temperament. This is best described as self-control. And when we think of NBA players, there's a lot of players that are very outlandish, outgoing. We see them in clubs all the time. But there's one player that best describes this, a guy that's very under the radar, who never seems to be getting in any trouble and always has his head down and is always seen playing basketball with nothing else really on his mind. This player is Kawhi Leonard. He has really never had anything in his career that we can point to say that he has not been in self-control. I mean, this is a guy that has been completely locked in throughout his whole entire career, and I know a lot of people joke about him not having a personality or being a robot in some senses, but Kawhi Leonard is there to play basketball, and he keeps his outside life to himself, which a lot of NBA players don't, and a lot of players get in trouble for, but Kawhi Leonard is not one of them. The third virtue is charity. This one pretty self-explanatory, but it's giving without being motivated by self-interest. And a player that I want to bring up is LeBron James. Since he has been in the league, he made his foundation, the LeBron James Family Foundation. He also started his I Promise School, a public elementary school, and he has been a open activist for a bunch of nonprofit organizations, including After School All-Stars, Boys and Girls Clubs of America, Children's Defense Funds, and he's also donated and spoke out a lot for African American history and culture, and whether you like him on the court or not, he has been a very good role model outside of the court, giving a lot of money and also just being a public figure in a bunch of charity foundations and nonprofits. Our fourth virtue is diligence. This can be described as a persistent effort or work, and it just really means to be completely locked in. And throughout NBA history, pretty much every NBA player you look at has always been there, has been training in the NBA, but one guy that is known for his hard work and effort is Damian Lillard, a guy that was in a situation where he was competing in Portland for a good amount of the time he was there, but a lot of the time it did seem like they weren't really building around him, but he tried his hardest to stick around to get them a championship because they were the team that gave him the shot in the first place. And now, as we know, he is on the Bucks and finally requested a trade out. Even though many believed he should have before, he was there and trying his hardest to get them to be in a spot to compete every single season, even if they didn't build around him. Our fifth virtue is kindness, and this one is really up in the air depending on who you could ask. I mean, a bunch of NBA players could be very kind people outside of the game, but one person in particular who just seems like a really good guy, and I've never really heard anything bad about him, is Boban. As we can see, we see him in a bunch of ads, whether it's goldfish ads, there's just a bunch of things, and also his partnership with Tobias Harris when they were on the same team for a little while, a good little partnership that we saw between Bobby and Toby when they were together, and it just seems like there has never really been anything coming out about Boban saying that he's not a good guy. It seems like everyone always has good reviews for him, and he just seems like a very kind and genuine person. He just seems like a great guy to hang out with, and especially doing all these ads for companies like Goldfish, like I said, it just seems like he is a guy that you could describe kindness as. Our sixth virtue today is going to be patience. Patience is something that you can definitely argue for a bunch of different players, but the player that I want to bring into it is Jimmy Butler. Now, with Jimmy Butler's success throughout the past few years, many would say that he's been in a situation that is pretty good for him, but many are quick to forget, or new NBA fans don't remember, that Jimmy Butler was once one of the most hated players in the league. When he got into his fight with the Timberwolves during their practice and he would be traded from the team, there wasn't a very good perception on Jimmy Butler at the time. It just seemed like it took a long time for Jimmy Butler to build his image back up, even though now we know he's just been this fierce competitor the whole time, and a lot of people would actually be on his side during that altercation, saying that he was trying to motivate the players and he was really the head of the team and he just wasn't getting the respect that he deserved because he was going out there and trying to compete when a lot of his teammates just were content with being as good as they are at the time. Jimmy Butler has waited a good amount of time in his career to get to the point where he is now with the Heat, where they've been competing for championships the past few years, making the finals in 2020 and last season, but it did take a while for him to build his way up there. The final virtue is humility, and this basically is described as being able to poke fun at yourself. And a lot of NBA players or people that are in the limelight a lot don't really have a lot of humility, it seems like, as they want to put on this serious character all the time. But there is one NBA player that we can look at, and I'm sure you guys were probably thinking of this player as humility, is Nikola Jokic. When we think of Nikola Jokic, he is arguably the best player in the NBA right now, and we see a lot of things coming out during the season, during the off season, that he just says he plays basketball for fun and he just wants to go back to Serbia and play with his horses and hang out with his family, and he just sees the NBA as kind of his job that he has to go do so he can afford to get his money and go do the things that he actually wants to do when he's in his home country with his family. Nikola Jokic definitely has the most humility out of any of these NBA players, and you could argue almost all time, as he just seems like a guy that's out there to have fun and just so happens to have an NBA talent that is near one of the greatest that we've ever seen, and the ability to do almost anything on an NBA court and lead his team to multiple championships, which we could see in the future. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to go down and like and subscribe, and let me know what you guys want to see in the next video. And thank you guys for the continued support on all the videos, specifically the last 7 sins video. That was our second most popular video as of this recording and could easily become #1 throughout the next month or so. Let us know down below what you want to see in some videos, and like I said, thank you guys again for the continued support. We'll be out here making videos, and don't worry, we got a lot that we want to do, especially coming towards the NBA playoffs time, where we're going to have a bunch of videos about players in the playoffs, kind of some more NBA story videos. Whatever you guys want to see, make sure to leave it down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.